going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Playbook Sports Podcast as we go through all 32 of the 2023 NFL scripts. Today, I'm kicking off the NFC North with your Detroit Lions. Now, just my own personal thoughts on the Lions. Again, I've talked about their draft a ton. I like what they did, especially when you just take the 4 players that they took with their first 4 picks, even their first 5 picks, and you just jumble the order around. Then it looks even better than if you put it where they were actually drafted. You know, Jahmyr Gibbs at 12 is a question mark, but Brian Branch at 12 isn't that bad, and so on and so forth. But either way, the Lions last year were super exciting towards the end of the year, made a serious run at the playoffs, just needed a Seahawks loss in order to get in. Have they done enough this offseason in order to get themselves a playoff spot? Most people seem to think so. As you look at the media and you listen to stories about the Detroit Lions, everyone's kind of expecting them to win the NFC North. Is that what Rodgers got for him? Let's dive into their schedule after a quick word from our sponsors. Before we get into today's video, guys, I just want to give a special shout out to today's sponsors, starting with Gold Fine and Bowles, Lawyers for the Injured. Personal injury, workers' compensation, those are their 2 things, but any sort of legal advice, they're the people to call. Give them a phone call, 309-673-5144. Tell them we sent you, okay? And I'd also like to shout out SeatGeek for sponsoring today's video as well. Use promo code PlaybookSports on their website to get $20 off your first purchase of $30 or more. Let's get back to the video. So, Lions kick off the NFL season this year. First game of the year, they travel to Kansas City. And unfortunately, it looks like Roger does have them taking the loss in a 37-31 shootout in Kansas City, going toe-to-toe with the Super Bowl champs of last year and the consensus, best team in the NFL. Like, just going toe-to-toe with them is very impressive on their home field on Thursday Night Football to kick off the season. Very impressive loss. There's no real moral victories, but if there are any, that's one of them. Week 2, kind of a revenge game here against Seattle, who kept them out of the playoffs last year. And it looks like Detroit's going to take the dub at home against Seattle and move to 1-1 on the season. Week 3, looks like the Atlanta Falcons will come to town, and they are not prepared to stop this Detroit Lions offense as the Lions coast to another victory and 2-1 so far on the season. Next up's a big one, going to Green Bay on Thursday Night Football. And obviously, we'll get to the Green Bay script as this is my first NFC North script I've done. But I don't know how good Green Bay's going to be, honestly. They've lost a lot of key pieces, quarterback mainly. And it looks like Roger kind of maybe agrees with me as he has Detroit beating Green Bay in Lambeau again to move to 3-1 to start the season. A great start for Lions fans. I mean, that's probably what they expect to do, honestly. If you talk to Lions fans, talk to pundits, they all probably have them losing to the Chiefs and then winning their next 3. So can they stay hot? Well, if you look at their opponents, it's likely as they host the Carolina Panthers in Week 5. Yeah, they're going to beat the Panthers, according to Raj here. Panthers rolling out a rookie. They're a few years away. They're still pretty early on in their rebuild process. And then Week 6, traveling to Tampa Bay. Yes, it's a road game. Who's playing quarterback for Tampa Bay? Is it going to be Baker Mayfield? Is it going to be Kyle Trask? I don't think it matters. I don't think they're going to be very good. And Roger agrees as he has Detroit going into Tampa Bay and coming out with a win to start the season 5-1. Honestly, though, when you look at their schedule again, you probably expect this. Yes, Tampa Bay was a playoff team last year. I don't even count them. They were under 500, for God's sakes. So, losing to Kansas City and then beating these next 5 teams, that kind of makes sense to me. Like, I get that. I totally agree with what Roger's going for here. And then Week 7, looks like they travel to Baltimore, and they're going to take their second loss of the season here. As Baltimore at home is just too much for Detroit to keep up with. Baltimore's going to score with anybody this year. They're going to be good offensively especially, and they have a good defense to compete with the Lions offense. Looks like in this game the Lions defense is what's probably going to let them down. But Lions get a quick chance to bounce back. Not a quick chance as they actually get an extra day of rest here. And in Week 8, they play the Las Vegas Raiders on Monday Night Football, and they're going to get the win and move to 6-2 going into their bye week. A perfectly positioned bye week, Roger. That is just beautiful to see. As they get the bye week of bye week 9, smack dab in the middle. Love that. Week 10, they go to the Chargers, and once again, another AFC opponent knocks them off as the Chargers beat them. Kind of similar story as Baltimore, just an offense that can score on the Lions' defense, and the Lions' offense may struggle against their defense just a little bit. Week 11, they host the Chicago Bears in an NFC North matchup, and they're going to get the better of the Chicago Bears in this game and move to 7-3. And they're going to follow that up with a Thanksgiving matchup, hosting the Green Bay Packers. Again, in Detroit on Thanksgiving. Detroit's hot and Green Bay's not, man. Detroit comes out with another win here, moving to 8-3 on the season. Through the first 11 games, that's real solid, especially, they've got kind of a tougher stretch coming up here if you take a look ahead at their schedule. So they needed to win these games, and they have. They've done exactly what you want to see them do here, just outscoring their opponents. Yeah, the defense may struggle a little bit, but they haven't played many top-tier offenses, and the three that they have, they've lost to. I will say the win over Seattle in Week 2 is very impressive. But then here they jump into Week 13. They travel to New Orleans. And this, every year, yeah, I get it. Every year there's going to be a team that you look at, you're like, oh yeah, we should beat them. And you're going to lose. Like, every team loses a game they shouldn't. It just happens. Chiefs and the Colts last year, prime example. Like, every team loses. These are all NFL teams at the end of the day, right? So, looks like here, Week 13, the Lions are going to lose at New Orleans in a kind of a upset defeat in a dome. So you'd think weather's not a factor at all, and it's New Orleans, so it's nice. But they fall to 8-4 with this loss. And they travel to Chicago the week after that, where they get another W, and they move to 9-4 on the season, entering the home stretch here, looking real pretty to win this NFC North, just like everyone's predicting. That's awesome to see for Lions fans. Week 15, they host the Denver Broncos, and Sean Payton and Russell Wilson are going to come into Ford Field, if it's still called Ford Field, and get the win over the Lions. Ooh, that's a tough loss to take there, as the Lions fall to 9-5 after this one. Denver should be improved from last year. Last year was so weird for them, but with Sean Payton in the building and bringing back Vance Joseph to kind of oversee that talented defense, Denver might be okay this year. I definitely like them more this year than I did going into last year. Week 16 here, a huge divisional matchup at Minnesota, and it looks like Rodgers got them falling again. Back-to-back losses for the first time this season for the Detroit Lions as they lose to Minnesota, giving Minnesota life in the title race for the NFC North. You hate to see that as a Lions fan, but they still technically have the lead. Win out and it's yours. Week 17, Saturday night football against the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas, and a third straight loss for your Detroit Lions as they fall to 9-7. Ooh, that just made Week 18 so interesting, and just like last year. I remember how last year their game on the last week, the last Sunday, got flexed to Sunday night because it could have been for a playoff spot. Ultimately, it really wasn't because Seattle won, so only if Green Bay won could it was weird, but they got flexed. I got in here flexed again, Week 18 against Minnesota in Detroit for the NFC North. We've got another NFC North title game, and Detroit go crazy as it looks like you are going to beat the Minnesota Vikings on your home field, clinch the NFC North, clinch a home playoff game for the first time in God knows how long, as the offense just carries. But I will say, they nearly choked away that division with Week 15, 16, and 17 losses. I mean, they're sitting so pretty at 9-4, and the wheels fell off with those 3 losses there, and 2 of them definitely winnable, especially Denver and Minnesota. Those are both winnable games, but Lions take advantage of a weaker NFC North, go 5-1 against their divisional rivals, and they're able to win the division by winning the NFC North championship game, essentially. No, they don't go 13-4 like a ton of people seem to think they will, mainly because their defense is still young and not that good. They've got the pieces. They need time, but they've got the pieces. And in a couple years, that defense will be better, but as of right now, it isn't. But the offense does enough for them to win the division, host the playoff game, and just be all as entertaining as all hell, man. Detroit games are going to be fun to watch because it's going to be points. And I love that as a casual fan of those teams. Let me see the points. Give me the excitement. So nice job, Detroit. You win the division, get into the playoffs, and you get to host a wild card game, and who knows what happens, man. It'll be fun to watch, and for Detroit fans, I'm excited for you guys because you've got a team up there. These are not the same old Detroit Lions. So let's enjoy the 2023 season. That's all I've got for you guys on Detroit today, and I'll be back with the next NFC North team in the near future.